Please help me welcome director Amanda Nell Eu. And thank you all for staying so late for this. And congratulations again for being the first Malaysian film to win the big prize at Cannes. So, in your past work of short films, you also explored the theme of the monstrous feminine. Um, how did you build on these short films? It's easier to raise cattle and vinegar baths when you were making Tiger Stripes.
Oh, like 100% when I was making my first short film, which is It's Easier to Raise Cattle, I had this idea for Tiger Stripes. I think I've always had this obsession to talk about women being monsters in society because at the end of the day, we still are viewed as monsters sometimes when we are outside of the box. So yeah, it's always been a thing of mine. It's still a thing of mine, actually. Yeah.
How do you think it's evolved in your mind, these ideas?
It's evolved as I grow older. It's evolved in a way where it makes me kind of more obsessed with it because there is still so much to fight about. There's still so much that we're labeled as monsters. There's still so much that we're labeled as unlikable if we don't cater to what society expects. So yeah, no, like I can't let go of it yet. So yeah.
And other than your past work, I also heard that your two cats may have been big inspirations for your films as well.
Huge inspirations. Oh my god, like I love cats so much because they are just sassy little bitches who can do whatever the fuck they want. And I want to be like that. I think that is like the best goal to be. Um, yeah. So like you see in the film, I remember telling like the my makeup artist like how my cat looks because I have a Sphinx cat who has no hair. And so I'm like, oh, the tail should look like this, or her claws should look like this. And then I also remember when we were doing, like you saw in the scene where she was pulling out the whiskers from her upper lip, and we couldn't find the right texture, whether it was like a paintbrush or certain wires. And I was like, you know what? Let me collect my cat's whiskers. And then we used the real cat's whiskers because that was what looked best for the film. So yeah, they did a huge amount in my film.
Amazing. So, talking about practical effects using your cats, um, other than your cats, in the creation of the monster, could you talk about the visual effects and some of the practical effects that you use?
Yeah. For me, I've always loved, like, I grew up with horror films, whether it was horror films from like the 1950s or whatever, like black and white films. And so this was something that I consciously wanted to pay homage to, where it was like mainly practical effects, mainly effects that weren't so smooth, weren't so slick. And it was just to kind of give this kind of bizarre feeling that I think in the culture of Malaysia and how we, sorry, the lights are like really strong. The culture of Malaysia, so I can't see everyone, but like the culture of Malaysia, we have very bizarre creatures and everything. And so I wanted to kind of have that effect in it where it was kind of gnarly and paying homage to like 1950s films that we have. Yeah.
And talking about the casting of young girls, I absolutely adore them. And they seem like they've been friends for forever and have fought and made up 1,000 times over. Can you talk about how the casting process was like and were there workshops with the girls?
Yeah. So we started casting in 2020 because we planned to shoot the film in 2020, but obviously that didn't happen. But we wanted to do this open casting with like a lot of schools, and schools weren't open at the time. So we started looking at Instagram and TikTok, and that was where we found a lot of the girls. And whenever we had chances to meet them in person, we would arrange these meetings. And so we met about over 200 girls. And through that, we whittled it down to about 30 girls, and we did many, many workshops, kind of working with them and actually creating a space where they could express themselves like totally freely and be very, very safe in everything they wanted to do, which is exactly what the film is fighting for. So it's kind of nice to see that happen offset and on set. And through that, that was when I found, you know, my three girls who are absolutely incredible and amazing, and they give their heart and soul for the film. So yeah, it was nice to see that in rehearsals, in pre-production, and then putting it on set. And the amount of support that they gave each other, it was kind of crazy. Like when they were doing scenes, and there were girls who were not part of the scenes, and they would always be there, and they would always like kind of like support each other. And then one of them felt like they missed the line or whatever, and they would always be there to support them. And that's exactly what I want for the world, actually. Like, yeah, so it's really cool to see that happen offset and on set. Yeah,
Absolutely. So the language of the film, both literal and visual, feel like it's very attuned to how teenagers aestheticize the world. Did you work with the girls in sort of creating this language, or did you look back into your own youth as well?
it was a mix of both. Like, definitely there's a lot of my own youth in there with the stickers and stuff. I didn't grow up with TikTok. But when I was writing the script, you know, I knew what TikTok was, and I knew that these were kids that were growing up with social media. And so I had to kind of put that into the film, because this is how kids grow up. This is how they see themselves. This is how they see themselves change. And it's so strange to live in a world where you publicly show your changes to the world. And I was talking to them about it, and yeah, so it kind of amalgamated into this film where it was partly my 90s growing up and they're now growing up. Yeah.
And that dance that they did, was that their creation, or?
Yeah, 100%. Zafreen, who plays the lead as Zafan, she's a TikTok queen. So it was super easy to get that dance sorted. I still can't do that dance. It's super hard and super fast, but they obviously can do it really fast.
You gotta drop her TikTok account for these audiences to follow.
I don't know, Zafreen, Nafrina, I don't know. I don't know if she wants followers, but yeah, she's really awesome. Yeah.
Were there other aspects of their personality, or maybe just themselves, that injected into the film?
I pretty much casted them with knowing what their personalities were. But also, you know, this is a film that, like, it's a topic that these girls know. They know it so well. They're going through it themselves. And so it was something just to talk about. And I remember like having rehearsals with them where we'd have like sharing circles. It's not just the three of them, it was the other girls involved in the film as well. And we would just sit there and we would like cry about it. And I'd be like, oh my God, shit hasn't changed at all. Like when I was a kid, it's the same shit that we cry about. And yeah, it's annoying. But you know, it's just about trying to find a safe space for them to do that. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you touched on that a little bit earlier with the 50s horror films, that the film has a clear homage to these films. Could you talk about these influences?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I really love this one character that we have in Malaysia called the Pontianak. She's amazing, and she's my Beyonce. What she does is she roams around at night as a lone woman, which is one of the scariest things a woman can do. And she doesn't care. And what she does is she lures men into her vicinity and eats them. And I find that very powerful. Even though she's very villainized, like when I was a kid in Malaysia, I was terrified of her. But now, as an adult, I kind of want to be her. So yeah, there's iconic films made about her in Malaysia, and yeah, partly inspired by that power.
So you shot on location in the jungle. How was that experience like?
Super fun. I love shooting in the jungle. The worst times we were shooting was actually in the school. It was very constricted, I guess. that's where the film comes from. I get very constricted by like these kind of rules and expectations. But whenever we were in the jungle, I know that like people who aren't used to the jungle, they're like, oh my God, what about leeches? What about mosquitoes? Oh, those are fine. I think humans are worse. So whenever we were shooting the jungle, it was total freedom of expression. Like I remember shooting in the waterfall scenes, and it was the most beautiful time. Whenever we had lunch, we would have lunch in the waterfall. Whenever we were waiting for like sunlight to come down so we can shoot night scenes, it was all about like playing in the water and climbing trees and shit like that. I love that stuff. Yeah.
That sounds like an amazing experience.
Yeah, super super fun. You should all come and shoot in Malaysia in the jungle. No schools.
So I think we're going to open up to some audience questions. You can raise your hand. Yes. The question is about the cute things in the film and how it relates to the monstrous things.
Yeah, I love cute things. I love pink. I love girly things. And I love that society says that we have to be girly. And then I also love that I can grow claws and they can be pink as well. And I can kill you with it. So that's what I'm trying to play with. It's to kind of embrace that expectation and fuck with it. Yeah.
Yes. The question is about the unanswered magical lore and what the woman in the tree represents.
Yeah, in Malaysia, we have a lot of folklore that deals with nature. And I mean, I give you an example. When we shoot in the jungle, we would never ever allow crew members to pee or defecate in the jungle or even litter. And it's that respect because we believe that there are beings who live here. And that is very much what I wanted to tell with this woman in the tree. It was to respect her and also to know that, nature is a living being and be afraid when she comes for you. Because she's beautiful, she's raw, she's gonna bite. And that was really what I wanted to tell and to show the main character, Zafan, that she can be that as well.
The question is about the change in government.
What, the censorship? Yeah, I'll openly say they censored the essence of being a girl. They censored the whole point of being a girl wanting to live freely. So, yeah. I'm not actually allowed to tell you what scenes, but it's basically the whole joy of her and the love of her is cut out. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that we got to show it here uncensored.
Yeah.
The question's about getting the film made in Malaysia.
Yeah. COVID is so boring and it was actually the biggest challenge. But I guess like a film like this, we had to go through a lot of funds from outside of the world as well as Malaysia. So yeah, it took a long time to get made, but we did the labs, we did the markets, we got the funding. Hence, there's like 8 producers here. I think I'm just really grateful that whenever I came out with this film and pitched it, there were a lot of people who could relate to it. And I think that was what was really special about the film, that even though it's a Malaysian film, it was relatable to someone in France or someone in the Netherlands. And so that was really cool. And I guess that wasn't a challenge at all. But it took a long time, but it was nice to kind of build that momentum, I guess. Yeah.
The question's about the significance on the touching of the caterpillar.
Yeah. I guess if you think there is, is my answer. Yeah.
Do you have a new project in the horizon that you'd like to share, or anything you're working on?
Oh, that's always a weird question. A lot more blood, something more mature, something about motherhood, something about having babies, something about being a wife. So yeah, it's gonna get more bloody than this. Yeah,
Looking forward to it.
for sure.